This is Rod Santomassimo. On the last episode of The Massimo Show, you heard part one of my conversation with national speaker and New York Times bestselling author, Andy Andrews. We talked about his early life, from losing both his parents in the same year to ending up homeless and living under a pier. He told us about a mysterious older man with a briefcase who changed the direction of his life by convincing him to begin reading everything from classics to biographies, and how he started hustling and eventually writing a book and growing a speaking career. In part two of our conversation, we will hear about his work with presidents, how he worked with major sports figures, his emphasis on creating measurable results, and the importance he believes a spiritual life can play. And now, part two of my conversation with Andy Andrews. Hi, this is Rod Santomassimo, and welcome to The Massimo Show. The objective of The Massimo Show is to share how you can maximize your personal, professional margin. That's right, let's make more money in less time. Let's turn chaos into clarity, confusion into confidence, and income into real wealth. Along with sharing my insight on how I grew a multi-million-dollar professional business, we're going to bring you the expert advice from a variety of authors, consultants, and thought leaders who will provide the tools you need to maximize your own personal and professional margin. Welcome to The Massimo Show. So how does that transition of the book and Good Morning America, I don't want to get into specifics, I don't want to get to certain presidents, but when did you get invited to the White House? Has that ever gotten old for you?
No, it hasn't. And used to, I would tell people which presidents, but people have gotten so mad about all this stuff now. Yeah. Now people ask me which four presidents, and I say the four that asked me. Yeah. And so, it was a different thing for each one. For one of them, it was for a charity event that the First Lady had going on. For another one, it was some actual issues that he was dealing with. And for another one, it was more of an entertainment kind of thing. And so different things with each. But I'll tell you what, the biggest turning point was when I was kind of capped out by my speakers bureau. They said, hey, this is as much, we can't raise your price anymore. This is as much as people like you make. And of course, my question was, well, what's people like me? Yeah. And they said, well, you don't have a gold medal. You don't have a Super Bowl ring. You don't have a television show. You weren't the hero of some national disaster and ended up on the cover of Reader's Digest. You talk fast. You're kind of funny and stick to it. I remember thinking, ugh. I didn't like it, but I didn't know what to do about it. And I've always felt like if Moses had more time on the mountain, he would have come back with 11, because I think number 11 would have been, thou shalt not kid thyself. I think more money has been lost and more business has been lost with people kidding themselves than anything. More time has been wasted. And so I knew what they said was correct. It was true. I just didn't know if it was the truth. And so I began to search for the answer in that. And it took me a while, because I've always believed that the quality of our answers can be determined by the quality of our questions. If you want good answers, you better figure out good questions. And I'm not necessarily talking about what you're saying to somebody else. When we talk to ourselves and we say, well, what's going on? Well, your subconscious immediately begins to answer that question. A bad question is, why am I so fat? Right? Because your subconscious is going to go, well, you have no discipline. Your mother was fat. You eat all night long. You never stop. You can't stick to anything. That's what your subconscious does to you. And so you can ask the question, directing it toward a solution, right? You can ask the same basic question by saying, how can I regain the shape I had when I was 30 or when I was in college and have fun doing it and not be hungry all the time? Mm-hmm. Well, now let your subconscious go to work at answering that question. Okay, but it's a good question. And so as I began to struggle with this, how do I get past this barrier that has been set for me, I began to ask the question, why do people book speakers? Why do companies book speakers? Why does somebody get a consultant? Why does somebody bring somebody in for their convention? And I went through all the answers, like whether they have a book or whether they get standing ovations, whether they're funny, whether they've been recommended by somebody. And all of them seemed true, but they didn't seem the truth. They didn't seem the bottom of the pool. They didn't seem that foundational level. And I woke up one morning with the answer, and it scared me to death because I knew it was the truth. The reason, and most speakers, I don't think even know this, much less would admit it, but I believe very sincerely that most companies book speakers for their events because they always have. We've got the convention coming up this summer. We got 2 speaker slots. Who are we going to get? I mean, most CEOs are not even involved in picking the speaker. And I asked the CEO of the Speakers Bureau one day, as I was thinking through this, I said, have you ever had a company that they always book $10,000 speakers from you, and all of a sudden, one year, they wanted a $50,000 speaker? You ever had that happen? And he said, no, never have. And I said, why do you think that is? And his answer was not in their budget. Now, I had not shared with him what I had come to believe, that companies book speakers because they always have. He said, well, it's not in their budget. And there we go again with something that was true, but not the truth. Yes. Because in reality, the truth is the reason a company that was booking a $10,000 speaker was never, ever going to consider a $50,000 speaker is because they never got a return on their investment with a $10,000 speaker.
Right.
And I realized that I had spent a part of my speaking career, and I had people say, oh, you're the best. I've had people say, oh, we love you. You're so funny. Oh, we're going to have you back. But I had never had anybody come up to me and say, because of what you taught, within the next 6 months, we made X amount of money. Never did. And so I realized I'm just a cheap version of a Super Bowl quarterback. We have something in common. If the economy tanks, they don't want either one of us.
Absolutely true.
But then I began to realize, okay, a speaker could get $1 million a speech if they were able to produce proof with CEOs, with coaches. If they were able to produce that, people would put their name on the line and say, we worked with Andy for a year, and because of this, we did this. You could get $1 million a speech if it came known that every time you spoke, within 6 months, the company made $50 million. I mean, at that point, the question isn't, are we really going to pay this guy nobody's ever heard of $1 million? At this point, the question becomes, if he speaks twice in one day, can we get him for 1.5, right? And so it became the new thought process for me to figure out how to create measurable results. In fact, I trademarked those 3 words. I've trademarked creating measurable results. And that's what I had to learn how to do. I had to find out what made the difference. You know, I don't know anything about football, so how could I help in football? I can't really play golf, but I worked with professional golfers. I can't really shoot that well, but I work with Olympic shooters. I can't kick a football, but I work with kickers. And I don't know anything about the mortgage industry, but probably one of my biggest successes is with player in the mortgage industry. And I had gone to them and I said, you'll love this story. I went to the CEO and I said, you have great people here and you should be able to double your results in a year. And he said, yeah, that'd be good. That'd be great, wouldn't it? Yeah, wouldn't that be great? And I said, well, I'm serious. I really think you could double. Now, this time, I actually knew what I was doing. You know, I figured some stuff out. I'd tried it. I'd worked. And I said, well, I'm serious. I really think you can double your results in a year. He said, well, you know, we did 5.4 billion last year. I said, yeah, I know. And you should be able to double that in a year. He said, you know, it took us 19 years to get to 5.4. I said, yeah, I know. And you should be able to double that in a year. And So one thing led to another. We talked a few times and it's signed a contract. And literally a year later, a year after we say in that, because we started like January 2nd. And a year later, they came in at 11.2, which was 101%. I mean, I didn't mean to call it that close, but the next year they did 17.6. The next year, 22 something. I can't remember the next year, but last year they finished at 39.1 billion. And in National Mortgage News called Fairway Mortgage the best mortgage company to work for in America. And they finished in October at 51.2.
Jeez and crackers.
And I don't really know anything about the mortgage industry, but it's people.
That is incredible. I'm sure the listeners are saying how, what, when. Hey, this is Rod Santomassimo with The Massimo Show. And oh boy, am I pumped. My new book, Knowing Isn't Doing. Well, when it launched, it hit #1. That's right. Top-selling sales book in the entire country on Amazon.com. We're so excited to share many of our proprietary Massimo methods to allow our readers to start finally building that business and the life they've always desired. To get your own copy or learn more, visit www.knowingisn'tdoing.com. And so Andy, before I let you go, we all talk a little about the traveler's gift. I know you've written 25 books. Everyone, tremendous value. The latest book, though, you started with telling us about this gentleman you met that was named Jones, right. Just Jones. So tell us about your latest book project and what's it all about?
It's the third in the Noticer series. The first book was The Noticer, then The Noticer Returns, which isn't that an imaginative title. And then the third book is Just Jones. But I wrote the third book in a way you don't have to read the first two if you don't want to. And the third book, the title refers to the way the guy would refer to himself. Because you would say, Mr. Jones, he'd go, no, Mr., just Jones. And so we all called him Jones. And so he always just seemed to kind of be there when somebody needed him. And so this particular book, I wrote it a year ago. It just came out recently, but I'm kind of amazed with it because I didn't know when I was writing it that our country would be in such, I guess, like anger or mad at each other and arguing and divided, I guess would be the word. I didn't know. And so the guy, he works with an old lady in town, and Jones is with the 27-year-old young woman who makes horrendous decision and gets in a lot of trouble. And he's helping a 13-year-old redheaded kid. It's probably one of the best characters I've ever written because Ollie Sutherland is playing pranks on the town. And, everybody in town likes Oliver Sutherland. He's 13 years old. He's got bright red hair. They really like him, but they think he's getting away with a lot. They just don't know what a lot is because nobody can catch him at anything. And so these pranks, as the book unwinds, the pranks are building and they're getting bigger and they're starting to point toward this woman that nobody likes. But the whole theme of the book is peace in your community, peace in your relationships. And honestly, Rod, that is the common denominator. I look at you and I am such a great admirer of you because you have taken an industry and become the best in an industry. I'm kind of a jack of all trades. I found a common denominator between them and have learned how to teach people to use that. But the common denominator, in a way, I guess you could say, is peace in a personal life. If you ask people, what's the most important thing in your life? Nobody says my job. Nobody says my career, right? If they have a spiritual life, they say God. And second is their family. If they don't have a spiritual life, what's the most important thing in your life? My family. Yeah. And so I'm saying the career is always second or third. And so when you think about it, how could we expect anybody to perform to the highest level in the third most important thing in their life if the first and second most important things are in disarray? There's something up with your kids. It's just an odd fact. You can only be as happy as your unhappiest child. Something's up with your kids where you can't get that off your mind. I worked with the general manager of the Kansas City Royals a few years ago. And I had done stuff with John Sherholtz for years with the Atlanta Braves. Mm-hmm. And so John came from nowhere. He was like a junior high school teacher that volunteered for the Orioles back before there were computers and was just filing stuff and worked his way up to assistant general manager. So when Kansas City called, the general manager of the Orioles recommended John. Well, he went out there, won a World Series, and immediately came to Atlanta, then won 14 pennants in a row before he retired. But at this point, John calls me and he says, I've got a guy that was just like me, and he has taken the job out in Kansas City with the Royals, and I really wanted you to talk to him. I said, yeah, okay, I'll be glad to. And so we just set up a thing on the phone for me to talk to him. And so one of the first things he said to me was, he said, these guys are going to get me fired. And I said, what do you mean? Because, I'm thinking professional sports, they don't like him. They're going to say it's either me or him. I didn't know what he was talking about. He said, these are the greatest athletes you've ever seen. They're unbelievable in what they can do. But all of a sudden, I have 3 weeks and my second baseman can't catch a ground ball. And then I'll have 4 weeks and my hitter can't hit the ball. And I'll have 2 weeks and my shortstop can't throw to first base. And he said, they're going to get me fired. He said, and it just hit me knowing this. I said, I think that if you get a hold of their relationships, their performance will improve. And he said, what? And I said, these are young guys, right? These are pretty much young guys. He said, yeah, they're all first rounders. We've been in last place for years. We have nothing but first round draft choices. And I said, so they're young guys and they're newly married, or they're new dads, or they're new to having money and family pressures. Somebody's got money in our family now. I said, these guys, they're not keeping their mind on it. I said, so baseball is a lot like golf. It's not like football. It's like golf. I worked with Nancy Lopez for years and years. And Nancy would always tell me, she would say 150 players in the PGA, 150 in the LPGA. There's not a dime's worth of difference in them skill level. They can all hit every shot, but the difference is on Sunday. Can you make that putt when that pressure is on? So it's a mental thing. And I told him, I said, you guys, baseball is like golf. I said, if the ball hits in the pocket, he makes the turn and he can make the throw and throw the guy out. But if the ball hits like 1/2 inch over, it's going to carry him off his glove into center field. And the guy who should have been out is now in scoring position at second base. And your slugger, if he hits the ball here, it goes over the fence. If he hits it here, it's just a long fly ball out to the warning track. It's a thought process. And he said, okay, thank you. Thanks for talking. And I could tell he wasn't buying it. I said, no, wait. I said, let me ask you something. Do you have kids? He said, I do. I said, you married? And he said, yes, I am. I said, okay, most of your work is on the phone, in meetings, face-to-face, negotiating deals. He said, right. I said, so when you have a fight with your wife, do you do your best work immediately after? He said, no. I said, something's up with your kids. A kid's sick or a kid's in trouble. Do you do your best work? Can you just put that out of your mind? And he said, no. I said, well, neither can they. I said, you guys have told me for years, John has told me for years, that all you guys know who the greatest baseball player in history was. Who is it? And he said, Ty Cobb. Right. You all think, all the general managers think it's Ty Cobb. And the reason you think it's Ty Cobb is why? He said, no slumps. I said, right. He never had a slump. And that's why you think he's the greatest. I said, but you can't teach these guys anything any more than you could have taught Ty Cobb anything. But you can't look at Ty Cobb's swing or his fielding or his running and tell why he never got in a slump. But you can read a biography of the guy and you can figure out why he never got in a slump. He was a sociopath. He didn't care about anybody. He was married several times, didn't have a relationship with any kid. He was as close to a criminal on the base paths. He didn't care about anybody. So I said, Dayton, if you could get a team full of sociopaths, you'll win the World Series every year. But other than that, you're going to have to compete with your culture because Major League Baseball doesn't have a salary cap. The Yankees are paying their pitching staff more than you can pay your entire team. you're going to have to compete with your culture. It's the only thing you can do. And so 2 years later, they won the World Series. And before the guys were off the field, I got a text that said, winning with culture.
There you have it. Andy Andrews. Andy, the listeners need to know, give us how they can get in touch with you.
Yeah, I'm andyandrews.com. I'm easy to find. andyandrews.com. Put your email address in there. I promise not to give it away or sell it. We won't bother you. We'll send you the podcast every week. The podcast is The Professional Noticer. And so that's probably the best way. And check out the different books. Some of the business stuff is written in a book called Bottom of the Pool and Traveler's Gift, Noticer, and the new one, Just Jones. Buddy, I appreciate so much the time with you. I've heard so much about you. You have helped so many people. I'm honored to be on with you. I appreciate it.
Sir, the honor's all mine. Absolutely. But we've taken so much of your valuable time. You are a giver, and we appreciate that of you and with you. So, folks, I always share with you what Andy's just done is given you so much knowledge and so much guidance. And yeah, he's actually sharing you some ways you can take that, read about it, apply it to your life. But that knowledge isn't going to matter unless you do something about it, because knowing isn't doing. So go ahead and do it. Don't kid yourself, as Andy said earlier. Don't kid yourself, KID. Knowing isn't doing. Until next time, this is Rod Santomassimo with The Massimo Show. I want to thank you for listening to this version of The Massimo Show. And please, please go out and share this with your friends, your colleagues. Heck, share it with your dog. Just share it. And more importantly, just give me some feedback, good, bad, or indifferent. We all grow from understanding what our audience wants to hear. So until next time, this is Rod Santomassimo with The Massimo Show. Hey, this is Rod Santomassimo with the Massimo Group. And did you know over the last 12 plus years, we've worked with thousands of independent contractors, solopreneurs, and small business owners in helping them achieve the business and the life that they've always desired. To learn more how we could possibly help you achieve your goals, please visit www.massimo.coach. That's www.massimo.coach.